And I get this phone call 4th of July, and the cleaner's calling me, and she's like, Sarah, she's like, I don't know how to tell you this. She was like, I opened the door to the unit that I was here to clean, and everything's gone.
Hmm.
And I was like,
That'll dampen the bright sunny day we were having.
I was like, that sounds like a July 5 problem.
Yep.
Not a July 4 problem.
Boy.
Well, welcome back to the podcast. This is a little bit different than it normally is. In the past, we were known as the Carwell Chronicles. As you all know, Emily has decided to go full-time mom mode. And it's been about 2 months since I've recorded a podcast, and I miss it. And so over the last couple of months, Ethan and I have just been mulling over whether we wanted to pick this back up or not. And every single time we were pushing it off to prioritize other things, we just kept coming back to the fact that we miss long form content instead of just short form. And so here we are again, picking this back up. Just before this podcast started, we thought we had a name picked out. Didn't do any amount of research on it whatsoever, and discovered it's the name of several podcasts already. So we are starting this podcast nameless.
Back to the drawing board.
Back to the drawing board.
And maybe our listeners can help out.
When it comes to this podcast, since we are starting over and it's no longer a best friend podcast, but it is a husband and wife podcast, we wanted to just talk through what this podcast is going to cover, what kind of conversations we hope to have, and who this podcast is ultimately created for.
I think this podcast is going to be for a lot of different people. Obviously, it can be for young entrepreneurs. It can be for couples. It can be for anybody trying to do some sort of self-improvement. I think we're going to cover so many different topics that I hate to just put a blanket over it and say everybody. But I just think that anybody that's, just trying to better themselves.
Yeah, that's so fair. The original name that we had picked out for this was Design Your Life. Mm-hmm. And I think a main topic of conversation that we have a lot of interest in interviewing other couples on, and also having our own conversations around, is the fact that, of course, we own and operate an interior design studio. We have shifted back into that over the last couple of months. And so we wanted it to have a little bit of a play towards design, but interior design is far from our entire lives. And so I think the thing that Ethan and I are arguably the most passionate about is being very intentional with deciding what direction our life goes, and being very vicious, I would say, about pursuing that life. We don't want a life that is a circumstance of default. And so I think my hope is to talk through some of the things that we've decided over the last couple of years that have pushed our life in a direction that we really enjoy. But also maybe interview several other couples who we see are doing similar things and choosing to live a life that's very unique. So,
yeah, that's right. And I also want to just include that this is going to be, we're going to share some of the good, but we're also going to share a lot of the bad as well. A lot of the decisions that caused the good and caused the bad, and really how we've evolved from those situations. I think that's very important.
There has been a lot of good, but there has been plenty of bad.
I argue with people and say, I don't know if I can teach you what to do, but I can certainly teach you what not to do. I've learned all those lessons.
That's fair. For this first episode, I think we want to focus on introducing ourselves, kind of talk about what we have done over the last decade of being together, and just let you guys get to know us a little bit more before we dive into giving you any sort of business advice or the do's and don'ts of building intentional lives, and before we start interviewing other people. So why don't you kick it off on just talking about, what you've done over the last decade and what got you here?
We'll try and not make this the entire episode. I could talk about it all day long, but my entrepreneurship journey, really I want to go back a little bit earlier than that. I don't think I ever anticipated necessarily being an entrepreneur. I remember as a kid, when I would imagine what my life was going to be like in the future, I imagined the corporate man. I imagined top of the tower, all the shows you've seen with the nice view, the desk, the suit.
The Harvey Specter.
The Harvey Specter, if you will, and what a compliment. Wouldn't that be nice? And that was what I imagined. I never necessarily thought about what I was doing. I just thought about how I would look while doing it. Uh, and admittedly, so I, like I said, I never really anticipated being an entrepreneur, but I found out very quickly in my first job outside of college, and really I learned this at my job in college, and my boss at the time / best friend now will tell you, he'll agree with everything that I'm saying, that I'm just not very employable. I don't make a very good employee, stubborn, hard-headed. And if I see something being done incorrectly, I try and call it out. And so I took a job outside of college. I was doing everything they wanted you to do. I work every day, 8 to 5. And I worked for a year and a half straight. And one day I got an eye infection. I lived out in West Texas. I was in the oil field and I got an eye infection, and called the boss and I was like, hey, I have to take the day off. I need to go to the eye doctor. And he said, oil is $110 a barrel. You will be here. And I was like, wow, I literally can't see out of my eye. And so that was the day that I was like, maybe there's something else out there. And fast forward maybe a year from there, I moved into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, met a gentleman who was selling insurance, sold insurance successfully for the first 3 years, climbed my way up to regional manager. From the outside looking in, you would imagine everything looks great. But from the inside, I was like, this still doesn't feel like it is what it should be. And so me and the guy that recruited me, who was my boss, decided we were going to go out on our own. And so that's exactly what we did. We had the tough conversation, and a little side note, we're going to be talking about a lot of tough conversations that we've had in our careers, but we had the tough conversation with the owner of that company, went out on our own back in 2018, tripped and fell many times, learned that it wasn't as easy as we thought it was. However, we finally found our footing and became extremely successful in the insurance business. However, that's when I learned my next lesson was I can't do it all. And believe it or not, it's when you're trying to sell, scale, customer service, and you're dealing in the insurance business, I mean, you're talking one phone call could take an hour. And so if somebody needs a new card, or if they need to switch their doctor, or if they have a question on medication, whatever it may be, that can take an hour. And it's like, once you get to a certain number of clients, all of a sudden you don't have that many hours in the day. And I realized that. However, I didn't do anything about it immediately. Maybe my stubbornness wouldn't allow me to hire. Maybe it was scared, whatever it may have been, I didn't. And so what ultimately ended up happening is I continued to scale, and I continued to field those phone calls, and I continued to burn out. And eventually it led to complete burnout, where I basically shut my phone off for honestly nearly a year, and I just didn't answer any phone calls. And fortunately, I mean, somebody might hear that and say, how on earth did you get paid? And fortunately, the insurance business works a little different than other industries. I was still getting paid from these policies so long that they stayed on the books. But in that year, it really gave me some time to think, like, what is it that I'm actually doing? What am I good at? What am I bad at? What can I do differently? And so took that year, came back, refreshed, rejuvenated, and literally fell right back into the same trap. And of just doing it all, and realized that very quickly, it didn't take as many years this time, but very quickly realized I couldn't do the insurance business. And so as of the beginning of last year, 2025, I sold that business. And since then, of course, I did skip a little bit of the part, but like while doing insurance, I was also helping you scale short-term rentals and helping you run some of the operations that requires. And so once I sold the insurance business, I got another opportunity to really take my foot off the gas and do some more exploring. And that's led us up to this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing that we learned, and probably learned too slowly, especially now having employees, is you can't be sales and fulfillment.
Well, You can't be good at both at the same time.
And you can't scale sales and
There it is.
fulfillment. It
There it
almost is like you start with sales with a little bit of fulfillment. You then go into a stage of 50% sales, 50% fulfillment.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you've made so many sales that the fulfillment no longer allows you to make sales unless you sacrifice the fulfillment.
Yeah, you're 100% fulfillment, and that just drained the life out of me. When I sell, I'm energetic, I'm happy, I'm like your best friend, right? And during fulfillment, you're like, who did I just call? That guy was not the guy that sold me, because I'm like, what do you want? Like, that's just not who I am and what I'm good at. I turned into a monster very quickly.
Yeah, you hated it very quickly.
Awful. I was awful to clients. I was awful to friends, family. But yeah, we learned too slowly.
Yeah. Well, I think too, I mean, you and I both have been in the entrepreneurial space to some degree for the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when I still had a W-2, we were side hustling our faces off. And I think one thing that we are really feeling now after being a decade dabbling in it and 5 years really heavily in it is that they always say that the thing that got you to where you are is not going to take you to the next level. And I see social media posts all the time that'll talk about, like, at the beginning, it is that thing that you're forcing. Like, it is just grit, and it is a lot of pushing your way through, and it is a lot of long hours and just hustle that gets you to a certain point. And then all of a sudden you realize that hustle is now harming you, not helping you.
Yes.
And so I feel like both of us have kind of hit that brick wall, me with real estate, you with insurance, where we have been excellent solopreneurs. We have been able to make $200,000 to $500,000 a year for the last several years just by ourselves with really no support whatsoever.
Correct.
Just by hustling. And now we're realizing that it's just capped if you don't start.
To get to that next level, you have to do the next thing.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. If you ever want to break $1 million in revenue, you really do need to start building things out.
And not to say somebody couldn't, right? But I mean, if you're trying to scale, you have to get a team, you have to get help. Because you aren't fulfilling what you promised or what you told somebody you were going to do. There's just no way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you want to introduce yourself at all? I mean,
yeah, I'll make it a little bit quicker because I think a lot of our listeners are much more familiar with my story than yours. But for the last 10 years, I have been in some form of entrepreneurship alongside you, but never completely aligned with you, right? When you were starting the insurance business, I was very much handling all of the creative stuff when it came to your business, all of the marketing materials, the Instagram,
our business cards.
business
Still got that very first one.
Yeah.
Your mom still has it on the fridge. She's so cute.
Yeah. All of that sort of stuff. So it always was something that was like really lighting me up. And then it came a point where the insurance was making enough money that it wasn't necessary for me to have a W-2 anymore. And so that was at that point the moment that I got to leap into originally Carwell Design, then the Carwells, and now this third iteration, I suppose, that we're calling Studio Host, where we really are stepping back into design, but in a whole new way.
Right.
And so I just think that over those years, we've learned a lot of lessons along the way. A lot of things have worked. A lot of things haven't worked. But in this next chapter, and I know we'll get into this maybe on this episode, maybe on the next, the reason why we have gone through those iterations. Because I know, a huge key to success of any business is that you just chip away at it and you stay dedicated to the one thing for a really long time. And I think that every single time we've gone through an iteration of a business that we have collapsed or sold, I feel a little bit of guilt around that. Like,
sure.
I
still feel guilt towards insurance. Yeah.
Yeah, like, am I doing something wrong? Did I fail at it? But at the end of the day, I always come back to this idea that we are in our taste testing era. Like, I do not want to just have a successful business. I want a business that I truly love.
Right.
And I don't want it to just make me money. I want it to fulfill a purpose.
That's right.
And so if it takes me 7-10 times to scrap it, like, yes, that's a slower start. Yes, that's more frustrating, but it really truly is honoring that, like, gut instinct that something is off. And if I ignore it, things just kind of start to crumble anyway, just like insurance did. And so I really want that to be maybe a moment of encouragement for someone out there that's ready to burn it to the ground, because I don't think that we necessarily should be carrying guilt for burning it to the ground, because every single time we have rebuilt it, we have very quickly understood why.
Right.
So that, I guess it's a little recap on me. One thing that I want to talk about before we like get into any of the stuff that we're doing now or the direction that we're going as of 2026 is just talking about those early years of when we like when you
We're
were
going to keep it PG, right?
not the
Just
debauchery
kidding.
of the early
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
But just, I mean, if we have listeners who are maybe in a W-2, maybe looking at their life and saying like, man, how do I get out of what I'm doing now? Those are all questions that we had 7 years ago, 10
Right.
years ago.
Right.
And I just feel like we were really intentional about some of the moves that we made, that we didn't understand why we were making them at the time, but they really played in our favor. And so I want to talk about like, you know, when we were in Euless and when we were all living in a frat house,
Mhm.
essentially. And, you know, we were dirt floor poor at that
Yep.
point in time. Like, we just did not have 2 pennies to rub together. I had a lot of debt from student loans.
And just to clarify, this was 2017, and we were early 20s, mid 20s.
Yeah.
So a few years back.
Yeah, almost a
But I
decade
wanted to
ago.
make sure a lot of people don't know what Euless is. They don't. So I wanted to make sure everybody understands.
Context.
Yeah, give them a little time frame. This wasn't last year.
This is not last year. Thank God.
Yeah.
But we were dirt floor poor at that
Mhm.
point in time.
But
And
happy.
we were very happy. Like, I look back on those times and I'm like, man, I will say that's something that, not to like digress down a whole different rabbit hole, but I feel like because we are so fond of those times, it also gives us a lot of confidence to lose it all
Right.
and be okay.
Yep.
And so I feel like that has been just like a core theme in every decision that we've made, where we're just like, we were so happy with nothing, and we also are happy with a lot. And like,
Yeah.
if we have to burn it to the ground, it doesn't necessarily change the emotion that we're feeling. But at that point in time, you had dug yourself quite a credit card debt hole.
Yep. Learned what a credit card was pretty quickly. Learned that wasn't free money.
Why do you think you dug that credit card debt hole? Like, what had shifted at that point in your life to result in getting into $25,000 worth of credit card debt?
Well, if you recall, you were the first one to introduce me to credit cards. I did not have a credit card. I went
remember.
all through college without one. I went all through Midland, Odessa without one. And when I left Midland, Odessa, I had a fairly large nest egg, if you will. But, you know, when I moved to Fort Worth, I brought a buddy with me. He took a little longer to get a job, and so I was covering double rent. You know, and it was a new city. We went out. We were over 21. We just, you know, we ate out all the time. We never cooked. So it didn't take long for that little nest egg to go away.
And you were traveling up to Michigan.
And then I was also traveling up to Michigan. And then, of course, I had to be a big baller up there, impress you and all your friends. You know, so and I didn't have a job that entire time. Like, I went 6-8 months without a job. So no job, you know, no income, double bills, you know, partying and then traveling. I mean, it didn't take long before that was at a zero. And I don't necessarily understand why. Oh, no, we did Spirit credit card because you get...
Because we would take that Dallas to Detroit flight.
Yeah, better
Twice a
seats
month.
or cheaper, whatever the credit card offered, whatever their little special was that I'm sure was a trap. And I just think that really opened up credit cards for me. And so I never understood like a statement balance or any of how to pay those, never learned any of that. And so I just swiped and kept swiping until we were in Chicago that weekend, and
I will never
it
forget
declined
that
and said no more money. And I'm like, what do you mean no more money?
Yeah. We were at Shed's Aquarium
Yeah.
in Chicago, and
Yeah.
we wanted to both go inside the aquarium, and you swiped the credit card and it was declined, and you were
like $25. And
you
they're
like put
nope.
that credit card back, took out another one. We're like, carry on.
It was just free money, and I guess maybe at that time it was some sort of confidence that, well, you know,
Well, you had been making really good money in the oil field
Right.
before moving to DFW.
Right.
So I think you had this expectation that like,
it'll come.
yeah.
Yeah. And lo and behold, it didn't, or not near as fast as I thought it would. It took a whole lot longer to rebuild that era and get out of that
Yeah.
than anticipated.
Yeah. And at that point in time, I had student loan debt.
Mm-hmm.
I had about 20 grand in student loan debt. And all of a sudden, I think you and I were just like, wait a minute, if we're going to get more serious together, my number one goal is that I was walking into marriage specifically without debt.
Right. Yeah. You made that very clear very early on.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a brilliant idea. I would have never even thought about it.
I did not want baggage. I didn't want to start marriage in that way.
Right.
And so even before we had gotten married, we decided to combine finances.
Yep.
It just made sense at that point in time that like, okay, if we could live on one income and completely invest another, that would be a lot faster of a result than if we were trying to handle it solo.
Yeah, and previous to living on one, investing on the other, it was literally just living on one because I just started the insurance business. And I mean, if anybody knows anything about that industry, it's probably similar to real estate where it's like, takes a while.
Yeah,
it takes a while to build
roll
up. And not only does it take a while and you have to go without money for X amount of time, you also have to spend money on marketing.
Yeah.
And you're bad at sales, you're bad at the process, you're bad at everything. And so you're spending money, you're getting that opportunity, you're getting that at bat, and you're swinging, but you ain't hitting any balls. And so, again, it kind of, you wonder how you get into 25,000. I'm certain there are people that are listening or that will listen that have significantly more and are like, well, 25,000 is nothing. But when you're making $0, like $25,000 is a lot. And when that minimum payment's $1,000 and you make that $1,000 payment and $900 immediately turns around and goes on interest, that's a scary hole.
Yeah. Yeah, you just feel like you're burning money at that point.
I won't forget that feeling. The very first payment I made, that $1,000 credit card payment, and then the very next day, $900 was back on it. And I was like, whoa, something's wrong. And I called them and they go, no, that's the interest. I was like, oh, this isn't free money.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. I'm not borrowing it at a 0%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's where that
hole came from.
Right.
Which then, at that point in time, I mean, when we realized like, okay, we were going to have to tighten up.
Yeah.
Stat.
Yeah.
Immediately.
If we wanted to make this work.
If we wanted to make this work, it was all of a sudden like, okay, well then, what are we doing here? Like, are we going to change our lifestyle? Do we want to figure out how to reel our lifestyle back? Or do we want to figure out how to make more money?
Right.
And both of us are of the mindset of let's figure out how to make more money. I think that just in general, the further we get into these conversations, the further we get into this podcast, you will learn that that has been a repeat theme for Ethan and I over the years, over and over. I just think it's a better problem to solve.
I absolutely agree, but it's also not like we're out here spending recklessly and carelessly.
Correct.
Like we keep our bills significantly lower than I would say the average person.
Yes.
Which allows us more risk, but it also allows us risk to try and go for making more money.
Yes, our repeat bills are very low.
Very, very true. Yeah.
Our fun bills
are
very high.
That's a whole different story. We don't talk about that one.
We'll talk about that one
All
eventually.
right, so we lived
it introduced us to our first side hustle.
That's right.
At that point in time, we were like, we're going to figure out how to make more money.
Which nobody else was doing. None of our friends were doing this. They thought we were crazy.
Yeah.
And like, we're 25 and no kids, or 23 or however old we were, and no kids. Like, what else? No money. What else were we going to do?
Yeah.
So this was like the best time.
The
ever.
perfect time.
Yeah.
What we did have was a cell phone and a pickup truck.
That's right.
And right now I'm following this girl who is doing this exact thing that we started doing. And it's just like making me want to go back to it so bad. Because if we went back to the side hustle, like we could turn it into a full-time thing.
Yeah. And social media wasn't what it is now. And I think, that would be a fun one.
No. And she has exploded on the internet over the last couple of months doing this and just talking about how she's like going through a shift in her career and using this side hustle as a Band-Aid to make money in between W-2. She wants to be a full-time content creator, but she's not making any money from content right now. Anyway, she's flipping furniture. And that is what we did day in and day out for so long. The house that we were living in at the point in time that we were all living in this frat house, because we were all dirt floor poor. We had beds in the bedrooms, but we had
a couch
in the living room, and this house in DFW had a formal dining room.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this like little tiny dining table in like the breakfast nook, and then in the formal dining room there was nothing. Right. It was just completely empty. It sat empty the entire time we lived there.
Yeah.
And so we had a pickup truck, a cell phone, and an empty room in the house. And so what we would do is in DFW, there's of course trash pickup day, but sofas, chairs, broken down lawn mowers, weed whackers, any big trash that you couldn't fit in your little tiny trash bin, you could leave out by the side of the road once a week, and a big truck would come through and they would pick up all of these items. And so on those days, our date night would be getting in your pickup truck, driving around all of the cul-de-sacs
That's right.
in DFW, and we would pick up every single piece of furniture that, not even furniture, literally broken down lawnmowers.
Oh, I was just going to say, if anybody's listening to this and is low on cash, get in a big metroplex like that, any lawnmower, chainsaw, power tools, they do not have to work. You can just pick them up and it's $50.
Yep, $50, and some mechanic's going to come and grab it and sell it for $150.
Somebody's going to come get it. That's right, and good for them.
Good for them.
And you tell them, hey, it doesn't work. Just quit running. Don't know what's going on. And all day long,
That's
you
gold.
will have people fighting over it. It's incredible.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
And like for the furniture, all we would do, we wouldn't even, like the lady that I'm following now, she will actually completely refinish it and she'll sell her pieces of furniture for like $800 to $1,000.
Yeah, they're beautiful pieces of furniture. We were not doing that.
We were not doing that.
We were arbitraging.
All we were doing is I knew how to make things cute. That has just gotten me through life in general, is just making things cute. And so we would take this furniture and I would bring it home and I'd put my cute little accent pillow on it and like put a lamp next to it and a little plant on the floor.
We would clean the furniture, to be clear.
We could steam the furniture.
Okay.
We'd wipe it down, whatever. We would just clean it up, stage it, photograph it well in good lighting, take every single angle, show every single scuff on it, and we would sell it.
Put it on Marketplace.
Marketplace, offer up. Like we
right.
had it listed on several.
Yeah, and it got so like everybody at my insurance business started catching on to what we were doing.
Yeah.
And like anytime one of them would move, they'd say, hey, come to my house and take the furniture that we don't want.
Just get rid of it.
Yeah, just come get it, all free. And we're like, cha-ching, payday, let's go. And so we would, take the truck or rent a trailer or whatever we need to do and drive up the road and go load it all up, throw it on there and take a photo.
It was literally an additional income.
Fantastic side hustle. It purchased us, I think I told somebody this the other day, it purchased us a 17-day trip to Malaysia and Indonesia.
Yeah.
Which arguably two very inexpensive countries.
Yeah.
But
the total trip was like under $3,000.
Right.
But nonetheless.
Like, it was like, that's money we didn't have, but that started our fun money.
Yeah.
Our fun money fund.
Yeah. So we didn't want to stop having fun.
Right.
We just wanted to make sure that we worked a little bit harder and then could go have fun.
Correct.
And that just opened up a whole new world for us where
That's
all of a sudden we were like, wait a minute. It was just like our very rookie beginner entrepreneurial lessons of like adding a little bit of value, marketing it in a little bit of a sexier way, having somebody willing to pay us for that.
Yeah. And I think the important part of this entire story is if anybody's listening to this, I mentioned something a minute ago that like everybody thought we were crazy. Everybody was wondering what we were doing, why we were doing it. Our buddies are like, hey, let's go to the bar. And we're like, no, it's Thursday night. It's furniture night. We have to go do this. And so I hope somebody is hearing this story and I know they're hearing outside noise saying, why are you doing this? What are you doing this for? Stop it. Let's go do this instead. It's stupid. Don't, I just hope that story right there encourages somebody to just stick with it.
Yeah.
Because that, although an excellent time in life, I think it taught us more than we realized.
Yeah, well, and they were such fun date nights.
Yeah.
Like it was like an Easter egg hunt.
Oh, when you got a score, when you saw a lawnmower, you're like, oh boy.
Well, the first time you grabbed a lawnmower, I was like, dude, that is taking up room in the pickup truck that could be a chair or it could be a stereo or it could be like literally anything else. Like, why are you actually picking up the junk? And you were like, and we just got addicted to it. Like we were just, it was like this game online where we were just like, how fast can we sell it? What goes the quickest? What gives us the best offers? Like patio furniture.
Oh, all day long.
I remember the first time we got patio furniture and it went so fast and people were so mad.
Oh, yeah. That one was the one that really started the bids. Well, and it's also so low risk because it's like if we pick something up and sure we put a little time into it, cleaning it up, and it didn't sell, you just put it out the next week when the trash day was there.
Yeah.
There was just no risk. It was literally perfect.
Yeah, all upside.
Yeah, all upside.
Well, and I think the next iteration of this for us was we went through that era, we side hustled our way out of debt. But when we got out of debt, we didn't increase our lifestyle at all.
Correct.
After we got out of debt, we just continued to live on one income. Like you were doing a little bit better at that point in time with insurance.
Right.
I had, I think, moved jobs and my salary had increased. Debt was completely gone at that point. And instead of us increasing our lifestyle in any capacity or going and getting a new car or getting a nicer apartment or any of like the obvious things, I think we already had the apartment that we wanted at that point in time.
You're right. But you still drove your beater. Tori.
Yeah.
Tori still lived.
Yeah, Tori still lived.
Yeah, we didn't increase the lifestyle at all. I mean, sure, we may have not been paying 35 cents for rent anymore. That may have gone up a little bit, but everything else stayed the same.
Yeah, everything else stayed the same. And I think at that point in time, both of us, like you were really starting to get into insurance. I think at that point in time, you had started going off on your own, and now I had the W-2 income where I was like, okay, you can take some risk and we can make it on mine, and it's okay if like we, try something new and just, fall flat on our faces. But the reality is that wasn't the reality. Like you started making good money pretty quickly when you went off on your own. And so we just started at that point in time stacking cash.
Right.
Like we just started saving, and we didn't know what we were saving for.
No.
Had no clue.
Probably scarcity at that point. We're just like, we're not going back to what we had.
I don't want a 25 grand hole. I want a 25 grand nest egg.
We don't know what we're saving for, but it's definitely not to go to that. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And so we just started stacking cash. Like at that point in time, I was so used to putting over $1,000 a month towards my student loans that I just was like, okay, I'm just going to continue putting $1,000 away. And it was the first time in my life, like I had graduated, started paying off my student loans, and then finally was at a point of break even, that this was the first time that I had any savings.
Right. Any
amount of money that was expendable whatsoever. And so we did that for...
I was going to say, when was that?
That had to be in 2018?
Yeah, maybe.
2018 or 19.
Yeah, early 19, I would say. And when did you graduate college?
2012 is when I graduated high school. 2016 is when I graduated college.
2.5, 3 years of delayed gratification.
Yeah.
And not only delayed gratification, but paying off debt.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't fun. All your friends, did they have beaters? Maybe not your Michigan friends. Okay, that's not a good idea because everybody has beaters.
In Michigan, nobody has nice cars.
Right, which makes sense. But like most people right outside of college, what do? They get the nice car.
Yeah.
They get the nice apartment or house or whatever.
Yeah.
And we delayed that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even my friends that did have average cars, they still had car payments on their cars.
Okay, yeah.
And so that was a huge advantage. Like I did have parents who got me a car when I was 16. I did end up totaling that car and then spending the money from the insurance claim on another car, totaled that car, spent the insurance
money. We could speak all day about the number of cars you've totaled.
Yeah, but nonetheless,
and why you don't drive currently.
I just kept getting crappier and crappier cars is what happened. So the first car I got when I was 16 was like the nicest car that I drove. And then by the time I was post-college, in my early 20s, on my own for the first time, I had the worst car that I'd ever had.
Right.
And I just was carred out at that point.
Tori wouldn't.
She was fine.
Yeah.
It was just my dad's car.
Oh.
After the last
leather
wreck,
interior. Come on, the worst car you've ever had.
Well, after the last...
We come from different classes.
We do come from different social classes. That'll have to be a whole episode on its own.
Okay.
But with the Taurus, it was like the last time I totaled a car. It was the third car that I had totaled. And my dad was like, you are taking my beater and I am taking this insurance money from your last wreck and I am spending it on your brother's car because now he's 16.
Well done, John.
It was a smart move.
Done. Yeah.
So he sold me that car for $1. But nonetheless, so we saved up 20 grand. Again, we didn't know what we were saving it for, but I feel like both you and I had the mindset of like, we want to be entrepreneurs. We want to be business owners. We know that that's going to require some amount of capital.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to look like to pay to play.
Right.
But I know I'm going to have to pay to play.
That's right.
I know I'm going to need a nest egg. And we had no clue at that point in time what that was going to look like.
No.
So then I feel like it takes us to our next chapter of you were doing really well in insurance.
Yeah.
And we were married at this point in time, living in a nicer apartment at this point in time. Ethan was making over 6 figures at this point in time.
Yeah.
From your own book of business. You just went, once you figured out how to sell and you got that ball rolling, it was like, you were gone.
Yeah.
You were in houses slinging insurance.
8 a.m. I'm sitting at a table.
You are sitting at a table.
5 p.m. I'm sitting at a table.
Yes.
I went all day long, every day.
Yes.
I was addicted.
Yeah.
It was excellent.
Yeah. And so he comes home one day. I'm working at an architecture firm at this point in time and making $45,000 a year. Loving my job, though. Like, I loved that job, working downtown, had great bosses. Like, it just was the greatest W-2 in the world. Didn't pay a whole lot. And Ethan comes home and he's like, Sarah, if this keeps going the way that it's going, I'm going to retire you in a couple of years. And I was like, panicked. I panicked. I was like, that sounds like a mental health death sentence for me. I need problems to solve and not problems that I'm creating while sitting at home. I just knew that wasn't the route that I wanted to go. Appreciate the offer, but no. I might take you up on it now, but but at the time I was like, no, absolutely not.
Offer expired.
And so we had a really great conversation that I reference a lot. Like, I talk about this conversation a lot, is that we had a conversation where I was like, okay, if I'm going to be done with the W-2 life in the near future, then you make the money and I'll make the money grow. And I did not know what that meant at that point in time. Like, I didn't know the first thing about real estate investing. I didn't know the first thing about the stock market.
Yeah, any investing.
None of it. I was just happy to be out of debt and have 20 grand in the bank account.
We were the richest people alive.
The richest people alive. You couldn't tell me anything.
Right.
And so you had found a book, right?
Yeah, I was driving to a client, an appointment, and Brian Page, I think is who it is.
Yeah.
He was on the radio and he was talking about Airbnb. And again, this is 2019. And he was talking about Airbnb and how much money he's making and how easy it is. And boy, is he a liar. But it was very intriguing. And he was selling a book. He said, or giving a book away. And he said, if you would pay for shipping, then he'd send you the book. And so I ordered the book.
And it was like 20 pages.
Oh, yeah. Super simple. I read through it.
It's like a magazine.
I read through it and I was like, I think this would be something Sarah would be really good at. And I handed it to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I powered through it and was like, yep.
Powered through 20 pages.
Yeah. Like, yep, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
This was even before, this was in the first apartment in Fort Worth, not the second one.
Yeah.
And so I remember finishing that book, and that weekend we were going to go somewhere. I don't know. We didn't have roommates at this point in time. It was just us. And we were traveling a lot at that point in time. Because you were making good money and we still had enough to put aside. So every weekend we were gone. Like, we could not be bothered to stay in Fort Worth for a full weekend.
We live in one of the best cities ever and we were never there.
Never there. And so at that point in time, we read that book and I was like, well, let's rent out this place.
Right.
Like, let's just try it out. And so I remember that night, it was a Thursday night. We were leaving on Friday.
Yeah.
We went and picked up a lock for our walk-in closet at that apartment, and we were just like, okay, I'm just going to shove the stuff that matters in here, but I don't care about any of the kitchen supplies. I don't care about anything in the living room. Like, there's very few things that I have any interest in locking up. So we took...
Take it all, really. There's nothing worth any value.
Yeah, this is furniture we found on the side of the road that we decided to keep instead of flip.
Yeah.
And so we threw it up on a Thursday night on Airbnb with iPhone photos, and that was it. And we posted it available that weekend, and it booked instantly.
Immediately. Yeah, that was one of those light bulb moments.
Oh, when it booked immediately and we knew how much we were allocating to spend on that weekend versus what we just made.
Well, that was our new budget.
Oh,
and it was bigger than our budget.
We were like, we can travel and make money while we're traveling. It was done.
Which... Just a side note on that, it's so funny to think how we listed that. I mean, we're literally talking like our personal sheets, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and our personal silverware and things like
Personal
that.
towels.
Yeah,
personal...
like what we started with versus what we now put into houses,
Oh,
like into our current real estate is astonishing.
yeah.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah. So instantly it was like we ran that for a few weeks.
Yeah.
Then went down to our leasing office and we were like, we need another apartment.
We've had 3 bookings. We're immediately successful.
Oh,
We need more.
Yeah. Yes. It was like it spread like wildfire for
Yeah,
us immediately. So we signed a lease for another apartment.
Lied to them.
Yeah, furnished it for $3,000.
Yep.
Spent 3 of that $20,000 on that Airbnb experiment.
Right.
Because we were nervous. Like, of course, the weekends were renting out. People were coming to Fort Worth for the weekend, but we were like, what about Monday through Thursday?
Who comes on the weekdays?
And so we were like, okay, we can break even if we are just renting out the weekends on this additional rent, but like, are we going to have any weekday bookings? And we listed it and it was booked every day.
Yeah.
Every day, all day long. The first month, I think we made like $3 or $4,000 profit.
Right.
After all expenses paid.
Yep. However, we were self-managing, self-cleaning.
Yes.
Covering our tracks from the apartment complex.
Yeah, the apartment complex, it's like we got the okay from the office.
Yeah.
But it like wasn't okay per the apartment complex.
Right. Yeah.
And then like 3 months into it, the office lady that let us do it dipped.
Yeah.
And then we were like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like it was like a
and
gentleman's
the new management
agreement.
Came. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
Which is like we could digress on that story as well. But I was like, wait a minute. Like this one apartment by itself is nearly what I'm making working 40 hours a week for an entire month.
Yeah.
And so we just, at that point in time, we took all $20,000. We signed 3 additional leases in Dallas. We were like, this is the thing that I'm leaving my W-2. I'm doing this full time and I'm going to continue growing this. Like, this is it. Never looking back. I'm going to replace my 9-to-5 income overnight and then some, and I'm going to work a fraction of the time. This is magic. What could go wrong? And we furnished.
Enter. Oh, go ahead.
Enter COVID.
Dang it.
Yeah. Yeah, we spent all $20,000 furnishing those 3 units, signing the leases, like the whole 9 yards. And we listed those 3 apartments live on Airbnb March of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Literally when the world collapsed.
Yeah.
Not good, fam.
That was a little scary. I mean, fortunately, insurance was still doing very well.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, but can you imagine, any listener out there, imagine like 1 minute you're on top of the world. You're like, wow, I literally have more money than anybody I know, inclusive of my parents.
Yeah.
You have no debt. You know, I have this job that's going really well, and you turn around and you've saved all this money, you put it into something, and you've literally lost it overnight. We'd have done better in Vegas.
We would have done better in Vegas.
Just the deflating part of that. I mean, you're literally kicked in
the teeth.
And man, that's where you learn the lessons, though.
I just remember being like, I had gone to my boss, and her and I will talk about this story now. She was like, thank God she like saw the writing on the wall, because we were so buried in like still working our 9-to-5s, furnishing these units, talking to landlords, getting this all set up. Like, I know that COVID didn't, like, there were rumblings of COVID January and February in like Italy and across the world and whatever. But it was like, I was still to this day, I am like so oblivious of what's happening in the world in general. I'm so unplugged from the news, but I just didn't see it coming. I was so like, this is going to work.
I don't think anybody could see that coming.
I don't think we could have ever anticipated the severity of it. But I just didn't see it coming. And thankfully, I feel like Samaya, my boss at the time, did see it coming to a certain extent, because I went to her and I was like, hey, 2 weeks, I'm out. Sorry, sayonara. I just furnished these units.
I'm rich.
Yeah, I'm rich. Like,
you'll see me in
bye.
40 under 40 or something.
Literally. Like, you could not tell me that it was going to fail.
Yeah.
And then the moment we launched, it was like DFW in particular, all of these units were in the heart of downtown Dallas.
Yep.
No one was going to a city.
Nope.
And now we were responsible for 5 rents. And I had to go back to my boss and be like, hey, the 2 weeks that I put in, I'm going to need to retract that statement.
Yeah.
And thankfully she took me back. So I had
Yeah, we're now responsible for like $5,000 a month in additional, actually not inclusive of the Fort Worth one,
I know.
additional
Yeah,
rent.
now I was in a situation where 100% of what I was earning at my W-2 was now just going to pay these rents that I couldn't get out of because I could not break the lease.
Right.
And no one was traveling. No
Yep.
one was renting. It was terrifying. I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to work 40 hours a week and make no money.
That's right. And you
Perfect.
did.
And I
we did.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, it has been so many ups and downs, but that was like the introduction into I'm going to invest and I'm going to lose it all tomorrow.
That's right.
I guess
So if anybody thinks that we've gotten super duper lucky, I hope you hear that story. Because it's like there's no luck involved. That one was straight hustle and grind.
That was straight
and
hustle.
We got out of it, but boy, barely.
Barely. I mean, at that point in time, like we were in those months, we could find displaced people who had COVID, who were looking at quarantining away from their family. Everyone was scared. So they were like, if a member of their family got COVID, they were like, okay, send them anywhere else other than this house. And so there was still people that were renting. It just was at a really low rate. It was few and far between. One of my favorite stories that whenever I tell people this story, it's the story that they remember us for. Like people always bring it up if they've heard it. But, you know, COVID started in March in the U.S. at least, where cities started shutting down, or at least Texas started shutting down. And July, we decided to come to Michigan. Take a break from being in the city. The world was an absolute mess, but my parents lived out in the middle of nowhere. They had this little boat. We were on a lake on this boat. 4th of July, obviously no one's partying. We're the only one on the lake. And we get a phone call. And we had just been fist fighting, trying to like make rent, trying to like get people in there. It just was miserable. I was so anxious. I was so frustrated. I was so deflated. I was so mad. And I get this phone call 4th of July, and the cleaner's calling me, and she's like, Sarah, she's like, I don't know how to tell you this. She was like, I opened the door to the unit that I was here to clean, and everything's gone. And I was like,
that'll dampen the bright sunny day we were having.
I was like, that sounds like a July 5 problem.
Yep.
Not a July 4 problem.
Boy.
And we had been robbed.
Yeah.
Like at the time, I didn't know I was supposed to have Ring cameras on my property. I only had regular renter's insurance. I didn't have short-term rental specific insurance. So if I wanted to file a claim, I would have been committing insurance fraud. Couldn't do that. Air Cover wasn't going to cover a single thing because they didn't book through Airbnb. They had booked through booking.com.
Right.
They had used a fake ID. They had used a fake phone number. They had just pulled a moving truck up to an apartment complex and started moving stuff out. And that's not alarming to anyone.
No, they did very well.
It was brilliant.
Good for them.
We called the police.
I hope they listen to this.
I hope they do too. I was like on Facebook Marketplace after that, just like scouring the internet for my furniture so I could go turn
I
them
wasn't.
in.
You win, guys. You win.
Well, and when we called the police were like, yeah, you're like the 5th person that's been hit today. I was like, cool. Okay. Where is the like, you know, group of us that can get together and like
there is none.
Talk about it.
No group.
I was so upset. And so we had to decide at that point in time again, because we couldn't break our lease, if we were going to then take the 3 pennies that we had made that year from trying to get people into these units and refurnish an entire unit. And we did.
Here we go again.
When's that furniture flip day where
That's
people
right.
are leaving out their furniture
That's
for trash?
right, yep.
Like, let me go try and redo this. Which means new photos, means lowering the listing price, means all these
Starting
stuff.
all over. Yeah, for 6 months, right? Because we knew we weren't going to re-sign that lease.
No.
I'm not certain why we decided to refurnish it. I guess that made more sense than breaking that lease.
Yeah, because it was like 6 months of no money.
Right.
Well, negative money because we had to pay the rent.
That's right.
Or
That's right.
6 more months of breaking even and just swallowing another $3,000 furnishing the stinking place.
That's right. Well, I know we're getting close to an hour.
Yeah, we definitely are. But yeah, I mean, as time went on, we obviously learned several lessons about doing Airbnb correctly. But when we talk about design these days and why it's so important, it's because we have done the opposite.
Yes.
We have experienced the type of guests you get when you have the opposite. We have seen the income that you get when you have done the opposite. And
the headaches, the problems, the chaos, the confusion, the questions, the client, the disappointment. Yeah, when we talk about design and why it's super important, it's because we've been there.
We've been there.
And if we could save anybody from going through that pain, then please.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think one of the common questions that we get when we tell that story of at the very beginning of like, what made you decide to keep going when you were just getting kicked in the teeth for the first entire year of saving up 20 grand, thinking you're doing something correctly, being optimistic about investing, wanting to be an entrepreneur, and then just taking an absolute beating.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like for you and I, it has never been a question on whether we want to build a business or not. It has never been a question on whether we're entrepreneurs or not, or whether we're cut out for it or not. It's just, do I get to play the game and can I stay in it?
That's right. Yeah. And it costs to play.
It costs to play.
And again, I just think that was the year that we have learned. I'd say maybe 2025 or 24 was maybe the hardest lessons learned, but that one at the time was the hardest lessons learned. And there's a lot of value in that, you know, and that doesn't mean we quit. That just means we pivot, we adapt, and we overcome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think at that point in time as well, a common theme through our relationship in general is our detachment from money in general. Like it comes and it goes.
Always.
And it's just one of those things that like the situations that we get ourselves into and being entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, can be frustrating and emotional and heavy. But we do not add money weight on top of that.
Right.
And as we get into these episodes, like Ethan and I could tell stories for days because after that, we got into a van. We lived in a van for 6 months. We've lived in construction zones. We're
going to very much talk about money and experience and how we've evolved with that.
Yeah. Yeah, but it has never been a point of tension in our marriage whatsoever. No. Whether we've been 50 grand in the hole, whether we've been 500 grand up.
Like, and neither one of us have ever borrowed any money, minus credit cards, but like from parents or friends or family or anything like that. We've never had to.
Yeah. We're winning or we're losing.
That's
it's
right.
Ours.
Yeah, we're betting it all on black, and that's it. And I say that with a little bit of pride, just because I know a lot of people online have been like, "Oh, well, it's different for you because you have parents who." And it's like, yeah, we do have parents that would. You have parents that would. Sorry, Mom. But you know, they would do anything in a heartbeat to make sure that we were fine.
Yeah.
But we continue to this day. They still, if you ever need anything, you know, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But we don't. No, thank you.
Yeah.
And we've never used that and never needed that. And it's just, I don't know. This is just a game to us. Like I truly enjoy it. It's fun. It's trying. It's hard. It's difficult. It's there's all the emotions. I mean, we talked about having kids the other day on our video, and it's like, oh, it's the highest highs and the lowest lows. It's like what we feel currently with business. It's like things are good, man. They're good, and of course things are bad. They're bad. But it's just like one of those things that we've learned to overcome and adapt to. And I don't know. You get addicted to it, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
addicted to the chaos.
Addicted to the chaos. But I think, you know, the portion for me around having a massive resistance to borrowing money, resources, whatever, from parents, from really anyone, is that like the reason I love it is because it's mine.
Right.
The reason I love the mistakes, I love the chaos, I love the success and the failures is because it's mine.
Right.
And if I didn't feel like it was mine, it would just steal the joy that I have throughout all of it.
Take a lot more of that emotion out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The good and the bad, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And so, no, it's one of those things that it's like if you, like any entrepreneurial couple or entrepreneur in general that's listening to this, it's like you just know this is where you're meant to be and it's going to come with the highs and lows and it's going to come with a surplus of income and it's going to come with all of it being taken away from you. And that's part of that self-development portion of entrepreneurism that makes it so addicting and so fun and so worth it. And so yeah, I think, you know, really we could talk all day. We will talk all day as these episodes go on, whether we're doing a solo episode together or whether we're interviewing other couples. But our goal with this really is just to, I guess, bring more exposure to couples that are like us, because I think that the portion of our marriage that I love the most is how intentional we are in building a life that we're excited by.
That's right.
And I know that we have found ourselves in company with a lot of couples that are doing that for themselves as well.
Yeah.
And the time that we exist in allows us to do that. It allows us to take these like big creative risky leaps.
Right.
The opportunities are absolutely endless, even in this economy that people will talk about all the time. It's like you can create whatever you want to create. And so I just want to open those conversations up about the good, bad, and ugly of deciding to take big risks and not live life on default and not do things exactly like your parents did, or whatever narrative you have in your head as to, you know, why you have to do something or what path is laid out in front of you, and just maybe look at things from a different perspective and give people permission to take those risks just like we are. So.
Give them permission. I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the direction that this podcast is going. I hope that this was a fun little intro of the two of us and giving you guys a little bit of backstory on some of the early years.
Yeah, 1 hour out of 10 years is probably enough of that. We don't have to go into too many more details.
Yeah, we've got
I make it
stories.
sound all mysterious and stuff. We were so pathetic and lame. I mean, we're just hustling and working, you know?
Hustling and working.
That's right. So
Traveling a lot in between.
yeah, so stick around. You know, we'd obviously love to have you listen to us, and I hope you look forward to Sarah. I hope you look forward to sharing more, and the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, absolutely. So give us a follow if you don't follow us already.
Please.
If you have any suggestions on a name for this podcast, seeing our dreams were crushed on
best winner, the winner of the best name, we make the first guest.
Ooh, it probably won't be the first guest,
Okay.
Because we'll probably have a few guests before we release this first one.
Okay.
But
sorry, guys.
yeah, nonetheless, you can be a guest on the podcast.
I'll give you some sort of little plaque.
Yeah, send you a gift card.
Yeah, there you go. That's better, easier. Very
All
good.
right.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time. Bye.